What is El Nino and La Nina by Matthew Dancer? So El Nino and La Nina is pretty much when winds blow especially hard towards the east or the west. And as you can see from a normal year, wind would move warm water towards the west. However, in an El Nino year, the winds would actually move warm water towards the east, which causes weather fluctuations in North America and the rest of the world. And La Nina is kind of the opposite of El Nino, where winds would blow the right direction. However, the winds are much stronger, which causes much more rain happen in some areas. And you can think of this cycle between El Nino and La Nina as kind of the grandfather clock's pendulum, where, one year it'll be El Nino, and then the year after it'll be La Nina. And El Nino usually happens about every 4 years, and La Nina happens about a year after El Nino. And as you can see from the chart here, pretty much wherever it gets really warm from El Nino in some areas, and then in some areas it gets really cold once La Nina happens. And this cycle between El Nino and La Nina is called the ENSO, which pretty much means the El Nino Southern Oscillation. And that just describes the cycle between El Nino and La Nina. And just to put it out there, El Nino means little boy in Spanish, and La Nina means little girl in Spanish. So you can see from this map here, whenever it is cold due to El Nino, that area is warm from La Nina, and vice versa. Whenever it's warm in El Nino, it is cold in La Nina, which relates back to the graph that I showed you a couple seconds ago. So you could be wondering what the weather effects of El Nino are, besides weather being warmer or colder. Well, there are droughts and flooding caused by El Nino and La Nina because of either heavy rain or lack of rain. And in very severe cases, hurricanes can happen too. So, one of the most severe cases that happened relatively recently was the 1997 event, where during hurricane season, El Nino and La Nina was significantly worse than usual. And you can see from the map, the 1997 to 1998 event, those red areas are where the temperature got especially bad, and the 1997 El Nino event peaked in November 1997, which is important to remember because the most recent very severe El Nino event that happened in 2015 to 2016 actually peaked in January 2016. So it lasted like a year longer than the peak did, the most severe event beforehand. And the event was a lot longer lasting and was in a larger area than the 1997 area. So you could be wondering how wildlife get affected by El Nino and La Nina. Well, unfortunately, the sea's ecosystem is actually very badly affected by this because plankton get hurt by the fluctuation of ocean temperatures. And as we all know, if plankton are hurt, then pretty much the whole ecosystem is hurt because the plankton is prey to pretty much everyone above it, and the whole ecosystem will be hurt once zooplankton don't get their food, and then fish don't get their food, and then it goes up and up. So you could be asking how climate change affects El Nino and La Nina. And there is not completely conclusive evidence that climate change affects it that much. However, it is believed that there is much more severe weather that will happen if climate change gets worse and El Nino gets worse. And also, very severe El Nino events usually happen every 20 years or so. But with climate change, you can expect it to happen every 10 years instead. And in my personal opinion, I think that El Nino is kind of a ticking time bomb where it may not be that bad right now. It's manageable right now. However, in 20 years' time, it could be a lot worse due to climate change. And, who knows? Maybe climate change, since there isn't that much conclusive evidence, will actually negate the effects of El Nino, and the weather will actually be a lot better because of the mix between climate change and El Nino. However, that's extremely unlikely, just a theory. And just because climate El Nino does not get affected too much by climate change does not mean that climate change is not a problem. As you can see from the graph, the average temperature has risen significantly because of CO2 emissions. And I think some ways that the average person can decrease our emissions is by using the bus or riding our bikes. This will greatly decrease CO2 emissions because it's a good replacement for, using your car. And if you still want to drive, then you can invest in an electric car instead of a regular car. And then some other ways you can help is by using more sustainable energy, such as solar, wind, or even geothermal energy instead of the regular, oil and other really bad sources of energy. So thank you for watching my presentation.